Hi there, it's Rachel from scrappinandhappy.blogspot.com with another Let's Get Crafty video. Today we're going to make this your Tea-rrific card using the DCWV latte stock and the two Cricut cartridges. The first cartridge we're going to use is the Beyond Birthdays cartridge, and we are going to take the little coffee or teacup on page 117, and we're going to make that cut right there. And then the other cartridge we're using today, which I seem to be using a lot lately in my videos, is the the Fabulous Finds Cricut cartridge. And in that one, we are using the cut from page 87, and I cut out on the shift key this circle cut right here. So those are the two cartridges we're using today for our project. We're also using the Fiskars stamp set, and it had a whole bunch of coffee and tea themes. I bought it on one of my US trips last year in the summer. So here's my paper. This is just some mauve cardstock, and this is a regular A2 size card. I have cut this so that it is lengthwise down in an 8.5 by piece of paper, so it's cut at 4 1/4. Then I have this piece of paper that's from the latte stack that's cut just so that I have a nice free edge around that side, and then the next piece of paper is cut so there's a nice free edge. So I believe this one was at 4 inches, this was at 3 3/4 inches wide, this one was 5 1/4 long, and this one was what is this one? 5 inches long. So then we're going to put those on there. But because I go through phases with my crafting, I thought what we would do today is ink the edges. I just like how it gives that shabby chic look. So all I'm using is just a dye base ink, and this is just an ink that I picked up at Michael's, and it works great for doing inking like this. And you can see when I do inking, I tend to get it all over my fingers, but if you don't get your hands dirty, you're not crafting in my books. And if your room isn't a disaster at the end, you're not crafting either. And that seems to be what's happening as I take on this challenge of using what you have. However, I must confess that this project today is using this paper pack that I just recently bought. My parents are snowbirds, and they got a cheap flight out of Bellingham, Washington. So my sister and I and her boyfriend drove to Bellingham. We left at I was up at 4 in the morning on Saturday, January 6th. January 8th, and we were scrapping. We were up early and taking them down there because their flight, they had to be there by 6 o'clock, and just with the border and everything, we wanted to make sure we were there in time. And so anyways, what ended up happening was we did some down at the border shopping. But when I set my New Year's resolution, I knew that I'd probably go down and buy something at the stores down in the US, because your supplies in the US are so much more reasonable than they are up here in Canada. And this paper pack was actually the 8x8 size, I believe it is, and it was on clearance for $3.97. So it was one of those things that I couldn't resist, so I bought. But now that that shopping trip's over, I'm not going to be visiting Michael's, and I am going to be using what I have. So you can see here that I've inked all the edges and I've adhered everything down. Then I went ahead and cut this at, I believe it was 1.5 inches, and then I used this Martha Stewart border punch to punch the edges. But I went ahead and did that already, just because it is easier than doing it on the video with the angle and everything. So that's just cut at 4 1/4 wide, and that's just going to go down the edge like that. And I guess I need to trim a little bit here, and I should probably ink the edges there. So there's my card base. So the next is this coffee cup, or in this case a teacup. And what I did is I ran it through a Cuttlebug folder. Now the way I store my Cuttlebug folders is in a pocket, and when I threw out the packaging I did not write the names like I know some of the girls out there that do videos do. So I have no idea what the name of this embossing folder is, but it looks like little leafy branches. And because I felt it lacked depth, what I went ahead and thought we could do is just take this sponge, this is just a makeup sponge, cut down, and I'm just going to ink it up just to make it have a bit more shape and dimension and interest, and it will cause those branches to stand out a bit, and just will give the coffee cup a little bit more depth as I put more on shading on the one side. So there we go. Then what we're going to do is pop dot the back, and usually I have that all set up and done in a video, but ready to go before I do a video, but because I wanted to show you the sponging, I didn't want to put it on there ahead of time. So bear with me as I put these on here and take them off. Okay, so the pieces are all taken off there, and I'm going to put the coffee cup, just the teacup in this case, just about there like that. And then this is the little steam. Now because today I actually cut this out using my Cricut Design Studio, because I was creating this card in my scrap room instead of on my Gypsy, but what I did is use the hide contour feature so I could cut this out on purple without cutting out the steam, and then I hit all this to cut out the steam, because in the older cartridges they didn't have the feature where they had layers and you could cut out separate pieces. So in the past you had to cut them all out on the same paper, but now with the Gypsy or Design Studio you don't have to worry about doing all that fancy planning and cutting. So the steam I pop dotted up, and it's just going to go on top of the coffee cup there. And then I'm just going to lift this up because you'll see why in just a minute. I went ahead and already cut out stamped, I should say, your Tea-rrific, and I stamped that onto the cut from the Fabulous Finds, and I'm going to put this through the back, and this way it cuts down on ribbon. Now if I didn't get ahead of myself in this video by gluing them all down, I would have just put this on the last layer on at the end, and then I could use you could use the cheater method for putting your adhesive down, but I'm just going to use the little bit more difficult way. And I don't edit this out because I want to show you that I am not perfect when I am creating, and I do these little things to make it work. just tuck that under there like that. And the last step is I really like bling, and I want that to really look like steam coming out of the cup. So I'm just using my Studio G glitter glue, and I'm just going to put that all the way down to cover the steam, just to give it a bit more interest on the card. And there we go. There is our completed card using the Beyond Birthdays Cricut cartridge and the Fabulous Finds Cricut cartridge and the Latte DCWV paper stock. So I hope you enjoyed this card, and if you want to see a close-up of the finished card, please check out my blog at www.scrappedandhappy.blogspot.com and go get crafty. Bye-bye.